Welcome to Hustle and Flow with Heather Hubbard, episode number 51. Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard, and I was a litigator, partner, and practice group leader at an AmLaw 200 firm. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you embrace your ambition without selling your soul? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and today we're going to be talking about shutting off your busy mind. But before we get to that, I have to tell you about my week. So normally, I think I've shared this with you before, I batch my episodes, which means from a time management perspective, I try to record an entire month's worth of podcasts at one time. That did not happen because I've been sick all week. I was supposed to batch for February, the end of January and all of February this week, as well as record a lot of videos for the Career Clarity course. And I've had this terrible cold, which has caused my voice to go in and out and be really, really like low and raspy. I think it's doing better today. So I've been having to wait. Every single day, I know things have to be done, and I can't do anything about it because my voice is just not cooperating. So if you hear that I kind of have a cold in this episode, that's what's going on. But it's part of what led me to do this topic. This wasn't even what I was going to address, but it was coming up for me, and I noticed it was coming up for other people. And that's when we get really stressed out or anxious. We have all of this stuff that we have to do, and we can't get it done for whatever reason, whether we're sick or something comes up or there's just not enough time in the day. It causes us to overload our brains in a way that we don't generally do. Now, don't get me wrong, lawyers tend to be in overdrive with their minds all the time, but you add on any kind of extra layer of unexpected stress and anxiety, and it makes it even worse. So I've been waking up in the middle of the night, which I normally don't do because I know I'm stressed. I know I'm anxious. I know I need to be recording things and my body is not cooperating. But I also have enough awareness to know what I need to do to try to help alleviate that stress. When I was saying that, I've been hearing this from others as well. When I was speaking with a leadership group at the beginning of the month in January, someone was sharing that, when she would get home, she had a hard time being present. So even though she's playing with her children, she's with her family, she's still thinking about work and everything that has to get done. And she doesn't know how to make it stop. And so we had a conversation about how you can do that, some tips for that. And then yesterday, someone posted in a Facebook group that they were really struggling to shut their minds off after they were leaving work. And the thread on that was really interesting. A few other people said, they were waking up in the middle of the night. Like, how do you shut this off? And so I thought, okay, I've addressed this before. I talked about it in episode 10, which was Your Brain on Law, and that was all about meditation. I also talked about it in episode number 19, Changing Your Mind, which was all about mindfulness. But we're now on episode 51, and it occurred to me it's been a while since I've talked about this, and we can talk about it in a new way. We can have the conversation go even a little bit deeper. So I thought this is a perfect topic for me, and I think it sounds like a perfect topic for a lot of you as well. So if you have problems shutting off your busy mind after you leave the office, if it's waking you up in the middle of the night, that's what we're going to talk about today. So at the workshop, at the presentation I was doing earlier in January, as well in the Facebook group, there was this open discussion about, what other people do to try to turn off their minds. And there were a lot of great tips and tricks, including plan ahead, write things down so that it kind of empties your brain and you're not as concerned about it. Turn off your notifications on your email. Don't check your email all the time when you get home. And those are great tips. I 100% agree with them and endorse them. But know this, those are simply ways to mask the symptom. It's not treating the underlying cause. And so I'm all for masking the symptom because we need relief. But I do think we have to take a look at what's causing it if we want long-term relief, right? So as I shared a little bit in, I think, both Your Brain on Law and Changing Your Mind, both of those episodes, part of what's happening for us from a neurological perspective is our amygdala is getting triggered non-stop. So your amygdala is basically the fight or flight response in your brain, and it alerts you to danger. And it's needed, right? We need our amygdala to let us know when we need to get out of a burning building. When we are in a crisis, we need that adrenaline, and that is definitely what it does. It pumps adrenaline into your body. We need that adrenaline to be able to act very quickly, right? Like make really, really fast decisions in order to protect ourselves. The problem is that's no longer being triggered when there is, a lion after us. Instead, it's being triggered when there is a client needing something from us, or there is an email dinging in the background and we're worried about what bear that is, right? Who's the scary creature? It might be opposing counsel or a partner or someone else. Who is that that's on the other side of that ding, the other side of that notification? And it creates a fight or flight response. It's literally triggering our amygdala such that we have way too much low levels of adrenaline running through our bodies all of the time when that is not its purpose. It releases cortisol, which again, too much of that stuff, it's just not good for us all of the time. And part of the research around mindfulness and meditation is that one of the ways to trigger your amygdala less is to create space between a stimulus and your reaction. And ideally, as you're building this up, it becomes creating space between a stimulus and your response. Did you get that? We're reactive. We're super, super reactive. And we are reacting as if there's a lion after us. And we want to get it where we can see what the real issue is without immediately reacting. And once we can figure that out, we can then respond, right? We're responding as opposed to reacting. I will tell you that our constant connection digitally is not helping. There's a lot of new research coming out around that, and we probably will do an episode on that at some point. But us checking our phones all of the time, it is creating havoc neurologically on the way that we are responding to things. So that in and of itself is making us more reactive. And we're already in a profession that requires us to be reactive. Many of us, have emergency phone calls, right? Especially if you're in court all the time, if you're doing protective orders, criminal law, or even if you work for a big corporation where they expect you to drop everything because they think everything is an emergency, you are being super reactive and you're probably receiving a ton of stimulation all day long. And that stimulation is in the form of emails, in the form of phone calls, in the form of deadlines, in the form of people coming in and out of your office. There's so much stimulation that by the time you get home and you're trying to create space, it's really, really difficult for you to do because the more stimulation that you experience throughout the day, the harder it is to create that space. And that's why we need it more than anyone else, right? So if you don't have a ton of stimulation, you actually, I think everyone can benefit from meditation and mindfulness, but if you're not being stimulated all the time, you already have a little bit more space in there. And it's not really funny, but I guess it's more ironic. The more time you feel like you need, right? So when you're like, I just need more time. My issue is I just need more time. Well, if you're in that rat race, if you're in that reactive mode, what you need is space. And that can seem completely counterintuitive. But the problem is when we're in that reactive, triggered space, we lose perspective and we lose our ability to just be calm and have peace. So when you are completely crazy, that's when you need it the most. And in many ways, I think that when we think of mindfulness, when we think of meditation, we think, well, we'll do that when we're not busy, right? We need it to be calm and quiet. The truth is you need it more than ever when it's crazy and you think, I don't have a single minute to spare. That's when you actually need it the most. So I want to share with you today, I'm going to do this a bit differently than normal. I need to go ahead and warn you, if you're commuting, I know a lot of you listen on your commute, or if you're doing something else, you're not going to get as much out of it because here's what we're doing. I'm actually going to guide you through some meditation today. I'm going to give you a few different ones that you can try. So if you're commuting, you can just listen to them and know, though, that you can come back, fast forward, get to this exact spot and try the meditations out. Definitely don't be doing this in your car or if you're walking down the street, don't close your eyes. But I want to give you some tools that you can use. There are plenty of apps out there. A lot of people like to use Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer. I personally just like to do my own thing. And I don't know if many of you know this, but when I started my company 3 years ago, the very first thing I offered was a meditation class. And so I used to host female attorneys in my home, and I would do 4-week meditation classes. And I missed that. I used to lead meditation on weekends. It literally saved my life. It saved me from my lawyer brain, my busy mind. And so it's something that I really like to share with others. And so I thought, why don't I just share that with you today? So I'm going to lead you through some meditations. The first one is the most basic one. And we're just going to do 1 minute because I want you to see how just a single minute can really help you shift to a more peaceful place. Okay, before we get started, I want to give you just some tips on how you can do this. So first, you want to be focused, yet relaxed. So I always encourage people, especially if they're starting out, to meditate sitting in a chair. And you want your back to be straight. So don't slouch, right? Don't slouch in that chair. I don't want you falling asleep. You can. I'm not going to get into all of the details on that, but it's better for you to be focused. So I want you to sit in a chair, again, with your back straight, and you want your feet on the ground. So you're not cross-legged. Both feet are on the floor. When it comes to your hands, you can really do whatever you want with them, but again, you just kind of want them relaxed. So you can put them palms up, palms down on your legs, whatever is comfortable for you. I highly recommend that you close your eyes. Some people prefer to meditate with what's just like a slight gaze, an easy gaze. But if you're just getting started out with meditation and you already have a crazy busy mind, any kind of visual of what's around you is probably going to distract you. So I encourage you to close your eyes as you're doing this. And then just make sure that your shoulders are not tense. So sometimes when we have that straight back, our shoulders, they're a little bit tight. So you want to make sure that your shoulders are relaxed. Okay. So part of what meditation is just focusing your attention on something. Eventually, you're just relaxing your mind, but you want to start with focusing on something. And here's the key. And here's where a lot of attorneys think that they cannot meditate. And it's just not true. When you get distracted, and you will, when your mind starts to wander, and it will, you non-judgmentally bring it back to your awareness. Okay? So as lawyers, we're super judgmental. And what happens is people start trying to meditate, and when they have a thought, when they get distracted, they say, I can't do this. No, you can do it. The only thing you're doing wrong is that you're judging yourself. That is not how you do it. So I'm going to tell you how to do it today. When you notice those thoughts, you just notice them and you say, okay, I'm having thoughts. Now I'm gently going to just bring it right back to what I was supposed to be focusing on. And if I do that 10 times, 100 times, that's okay. That's meditation, and I get the gold star because that's exactly how it works. It's not about shutting off the distractions. It's not about shutting off your mind completely. It's about giving your mind space and training it to come back to what matters. Okay? So, if your mind wanders, do not judge it. Just bring it back to your attention. Okay, so for this 1-minute meditation, I want you to pick what your attention is going to be. Some people will just focus on their breath. That personally does not work well for me. It's hard for me to keep my attention on my breath. One thing that I like to use is a mantra. A mantra means it's just a word or a phrase, and you're using that. So you're repeating it, and it can be whatever word you want. Oftentimes it's Sanskrit, but you can make it any word you want. It can be your name. It can be peace. It can be love. Literally anything you want. It's just that word is what you're saying. So you would take a deep breath and you say the word. Another is a mudra, and those are just your hands. So I'm sure you've seen people meditating where, they've got their thumb pressed against one of their fingers. And oftentimes those represent things. Doesn't matter for purposes of this meditation, but you can focus on that pressure, right? So if you are holding your hand in a certain way, your attention is just on what that feels like. So you get to pick whatever it is. And for 1 minute, we're going to focus on that and that only. And when our mind wanders, we're going to bring it back. Okay, are you ready? Go ahead and get in your position. You can close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Exhale out. Another deep breath in. Exhale out. And you can now meditate for the next minute. Take a deep breath in. Exhale out. Another deep breath in. Exhale out. And you can open your eyes. So hopefully you were able to feel a shift there. Anytime I'm leading a workshop, I did a mindfulness workshop for an entire legal department earlier this month, and we did this meditation, and the entire energy in the room shifted. You could hear a pin drop. And when everyone opened their eyes, a few people mentioned, they were like, whoa, that's amazing how just 60 seconds made me calm down. Guys, you can do that any time. If you find that you are working like crazy and your, shoulders are getting really tense and tight, or you're, getting frustrated or anxious, whatever's going on, you can do that on your own. You can set a timer if you want to. We all have a minute. We all have a minute to spare. And if you need to do that 10 times throughout the day, go for it. Go for it. That is going to help you recalibrate. It's going to help you create just a little bit of space. I personally like to use that one more as a way to just provide some immediate relief as opposed to a practice. But if you're just starting out, that's a great practice as well. So you can always use that. It can be your go-to quick way to provide a little bit of space during the day. Okay, so the next meditation that I want to do with you is called a body scan. And the idea is that you're trying to calm your mind, you're trying to create some space, but you're also trying to create some mind-body awareness. For those of us that are stuck in our heads all of the time, we're not really connected to our bodies. We ignore any stress or tension that we're feeling physically. And our bodies can give us a ton of information, but our mind often shuts that down because we just don't see it as helpful. And so we just want to avoid it. But the problem is we're then up in our heads, and that can create a lot of issues if we're not being grounded, if we don't have that perspective, if we're not checked in with our body, which is just as important as our mind. So the body scan helps you do that. We're going to do this one a little bit longer. And this is another great way. One, if you just want to have like maybe a 5-minute meditation at lunch. Morning is great. I always find that lunch is wonderful though, because that's generally when I need my reset. So this is one that you can come back to and listen to over and over again. Okay, so go ahead, get in your position, and you can close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Exhale out. Another deep breath in. And exhale out. And I want you to focus on the sensation of your hands. Try to put all of your focus on just feeling what your hands feel like. Move your attention to your fingernails. And now move your attention to your elbows. How do your elbows feel? Now move up to your shoulders. Your shoulder blades. Do you feel any tension there? How about your neck? How does your neck feel? Now move to your head. Does it feel heavy? Focus your attention on your eyes. Your nose. Your chin. Your earlobes. Can you feel the scalp of your head? And now move your attention to your lungs, your breathing. Now move to the abdomen. How does your abdomen feel? And what about your back? How does your lower back feel? Now move to your hips. your thighs, your knees, your calves, your ankles, your big toe, and then focus on your entire body as a whole. How does it feel? Take a deep breath in and exhale out. Another deep breath in and exhale out. And you can open your eyes. So hopefully you felt a shift there as well. Hopefully you were able to see that by giving your mind something to do, other than just think about whatever it wants, it causes your mind to focus in a way that allows you to be aware, but to be relaxed, right? There's not a ton of pressure there. And if you struggled feeling your body, right? Like if you were like, I'm having a hard time sensing anything, that's fine. It could just be that there's a lot of work to do in starting to get back in touch with your body. It could be you're totally in your mind all of the time. So if that's the case, this would be a great meditation for you to do on a daily basis. Okay, so I have one last meditation for you that I want to share. And on this one, we're going to have some background music as well. For my copyright attorneys out there, yes, it is licensed. But I want you to get a feel for what meditation can feel like if you're using music to kind of help relax. I love having music in the background when I'm meditating. So I want to give you that opportunity today. And we're also going to kind of work through some of that stuff that might be going on in your mind. So go ahead, get in your meditation position, close your eyes, take a deep breath in, exhale out, another deep breath in, exhale out. And I want you to allow yourself to visualize your thoughts. Anything that's wanting to come up, whether it's your to-do list, a relationship, a conversation that you're worried about, anything and everything that's going on in your mind, allow those thoughts to come up. But watch them. Imagine that they are like a cartoon. And so the thoughts are just little blips, little clouds. And you can see each one. You're not your thought. You can see your thought. You can watch your thought. And they can all just drift by. And you may just have one or two. Or you may have so many that it's difficult to see them all at once. Whatever your thoughts, just let them be. But recognize that they are not you. You are so much more. Try to push your thoughts out visually even more so that they are not connected to your mind or your body in any way. They are at least 3 feet out in front of you. And as you're watching these thoughts, how do they make you feel? Is there anywhere in your body that gets tense just watching those thoughts? Remember to breathe deeply. Begin to release any tension, release any stress about those thoughts. And because you can control what's outside of you, because it is not you, because you can quiet your mind whenever you want, I want you to visualize all of those thoughts as a ball. So bring them in. Bring all of those thoughts in to a single ball that's right in front of you, that you're holding in your hands. They're not part of you or outside of you, and you've been able to minimize them into a small ball that you can hold, that you can control. And I want you to take a deep breath in, and on your exhale, blow so hard that you turn that ball into dust. I want you to take another really large breath in, and when you release, if there's anything left, you can turn it into glitter. Watch all of your thoughts, all of your worries completely disappear, so that your mind and your body is completely free. Take a deep breath in. Exhale out. Another deep breath in. And exhale out. And you can open your eyes. So that one may have been a little bit more difficult for you. Guided meditations are like that. Some work for some people and then some work for others. The key to meditation is finding what works for you. And there are so many free resources out there. There's so many podcasts out there that are devoted just to guided meditations. And so, you might like some one day and not another day, and that's fine. But part of creating this space is training your mind. And if you can get in a daily practice, whether it's in the morning, whether it's at lunch, evening before you go to bed, or all of the above, spending just 5 minutes to release that stress, to create space where you're not being reactive, that will really help in the long run. So the way I look at it is, if you're really stressed and you need something in the minute, maybe it's that 60-second meditation we did earlier. Maybe it is a 5-minute meditation. If you're using it for immediate relief, great, use it. But no, that's a little bit like masking a symptom, taking a pill. When you have a daily practice where you're doing it at the same time every day, not necessarily for immediate relief, but for practice, that's what really helps build up your resistance over time. It creates space without you having to even think about it. And then when you can do that, you don't need those meditations to provide relief as much, because you really are rewiring your brain as a whole. And if you want to learn more about that, there's an amazing TED Talk by Sarah Lazar from Harvard, and we'll put that link in the show notes. It's a TED Talk on YouTube. It's really, really interesting stuff. But doing this work literally changes your brain, and it saved my life. It doesn't mean that I don't still wake up in the middle of the night or have that busy mind, but I do now have awareness so that when that's going on, I know that it's time to work on my self-care even more and up my meditation practice. Okay, I hope that's been helpful for you today. Feel free to come back and re-listen to those meditations as often as you would like. Here's to all of us learning to shut off our busy minds so that when we leave our work, we can truly leave it for the day and be present for ourselves and our families and others. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. For show notes, downloads, and other free resources, and to keep the conversation going, head on over to hustleandflowpodcast.com. See you there.